Today I'm going to present the Battle of Vicksburg. On May 1863, Major General Ulysses S. Grant finally approached the Confederate defenses on Vicksburg. So the climax will result in Grant encircling the Confederate defenders and, kind of scaring them a bit, surrounding them in a circle. On the evening of May 17th, Lieutenant General John C. Pemberton, which is the man right there on the right, poured around Vicksburg after the Confederates' defeat at Champion Hill and along the Black River. Not wanting to let Permington to settle, he did not want him to, get ready. Grant ordered an assault to ensure a quick victory. So, I mean, a little bit of, cheating, but, anything to get a quick win. Siege of Vicksburg. General Grant tried to take the city by threatening the Confederates with his superior numbers. It didn't work, so he decided to bomb them, like literally bomb this whole city until they run short of food and surrendered, Um, so pretty much the Union bombed the city until the Confederates got tired, hungry, and, almost starved to death. They didn't have any other choice than surrender or die by the end. So how bad were the conditions for the Confederates during the siege? Well, the conditions were so bad in the city, and they got worse and worse over the next few weeks, that they began running out of food and they started eating everything available, including horses, dogs, and cats. Because of malnutrition, the soldiers became weak and sick. In addition to not having food, the city was always bombed and people had to hide. And by the very last days of the siege, they started eating rats and tree bark, which, it gives them a good reason why, the Confederates surrendered to the Union. On July 3rd, 1863, the Confederate General Pemberton sent a note to General Grant for peace. Grant accepted and Pemberton surrendered the next day on July 4th. General Grant thought that the Confederate soldiers, because of their experience, they would not return to war, but they will later return for later battles. Back to why General Pemberton surrendered on July 4th, he thought that if he surrendered on Independence Day, it would cool the tension between them and the United States, the Union. With the surrender of Port Hudson on July 9th, 1863, the Mississippi was in Union hands. The conclusion. Well, Vicksburg was the last major Confederate stronghold on the Mississippi River, and this was part of the North's plan to weaken the Confederacy. They called this plan the Anaconda Plan. This battle, along with the Union's win at Gettysburg, was the turning point of the war in the Union's favor. The Vicksburg win would also unbalance the Confederacy and pretty much will cut ties between some of the states. I think it was Texas, Alabama, the lower states with the northern and southern states. They would, since the Union, got control of the Mississippi River, which was like in the middle, I believe, they would, sever communication between the Confederacy. So that was a great win for them. The Union casualties on Vicksburg were 4,835, and the Confederates were a massive 32,697, with 29,495 of those surrendering. In total, 10,142 Union and 9,091 Confederates were actually killed or wounded in combat. which if we see this little picture right here, this graph, we see that Vicksburg had one of the lowest casualties compared to the rest of the battles, including the previous one that I talked about, Antietam and Gettysburg. And that concludes my presentation. Hope you guys learned something. And